Pack your bags and get out. That's what my daughter-in-law told me at my son's funeral. Right there in front of everyone. I'm Howard Barnes, 67 years old. What happened next taught her that assumptions can cost you everything. Let me tell you the whole story. Carl had been dead 2 months when Beverly finally showed her true colors. My boy died in a car accident back in September. Beverly took charge of everything from day one. Don't worry, Howard, I'll handle the arrangements. What she meant was stay out of my way. At the funeral home, she made every decision. Casket, flowers, music. When I suggested Carl's favorite song, she cut me off cold. That's too depressing. I watched her run that place like a business meeting. Designer black dress, directing everyone around. Me. I sat in my old navy suit. The same suit I wore to Dorothy's funeral 18 months ago. Beverly saw a quiet old man and figured I was broke. See, I'm retired union electrician. Spent 40 years running crews, building this city. Served in Vietnam before that. Built everything with overtime and smart investing. But Beverly saw simple clothes and an old Honda. She assumed I was living on handouts from her and Carl. The real shock came at the reception. Beverly pulled me aside in my own kitchen. The one Dorothy and I shared coffee in every morning. Howard, we need to talk about your situation, she said. Like I was some problem she had to solve now. My situation? You're broke without Carl. He was supporting you, and I can't carry that burden. Burden. That word hit like a punch to the gut. I've been generous letting you stay here, but this house is mine now. Carl left me everything. I just nodded. Beverly thought I was giving up. What she didn't know was I was doing calculations in my head. Carl never owned this house. He lived here, grew up here, but owned it? Never. I built this place in 1987 with my own hands. She had no clue about the filing cabinet downstairs. 4 drawers of organized records going back 40 years. Every receipt, every payment, every document. When you're an electrician, you keep receipts. When you're a veteran, you document everything. When you're smart with money, you keep proof. Most important, she didn't know about the trust fund. The one with $847,000 in it. All mine. The funeral guests saw what Beverly wanted them to see. Successful real estate agent taking charge. Old man who couldn't handle his affairs. They watched her shake hands like she was head of the family now. I sat quiet in Carl's old recliner. The one I bought him for his 18th birthday when he started electrical apprenticeship. Listening to her paint me as the dependent father-in-law. Howard's having trouble adjusting, she told our neighbor Joyce. Poor man doesn't understand finances. Carl handled everything for him. Joyce shot me a look. She'd known me 37 years, since I broke ground on this lot with my union brothers. But even Joyce seemed to believe Beverly's story. That's when I realized something. People see what they expect to see. Beverly expected a broke widower who couldn't manage alone. So that's what she saw. My humble lifestyle looked like poverty to her. 15-year-old Honda instead of something flashy. Simple clothes instead of expensive suits. Quiet grief instead of making a show of it. She mistook humility for helplessness. Quiet for weakness. Generosity for desperation. Big mistake on her part. Wednesday morning Beverly cornered me by the front door. Had a printed eviction notice like I was some tenant getting kicked out. November 15th, she said, pointing to the red circle. Gives you time to find a senior community. I already looked into places. Sunset Manor has openings. $1,200 a month for a studio apartment. She expected me to spend my entire Social Security check on rent. What about food? Transportation? Medical bills? She shrugged. Programs for people in your situation. Food stamps, Medicaid. Government takes care of senior citizens. The government. Like I never contributed anything. Like 40 years of union dues and military service meant nothing. Like all those tax payments were just pocket change. Beverly had me figured all wrong. Friday morning she let herself in with Carl's key. No knock, no good morning. Walked right in like she owned the place. Howard, we need to talk about finances. She marched into the kitchen with a manila folder full of her calculations. Sat down without being invited and pulled out a legal pad. I need to understand what Carl was covering for you. The utilities, property taxes, insurance. Until you move out, I'll cover everything Carl was paying for you. I sipped my coffee slow. What exactly do you think Carl was covering? Everything. Mortgage, taxes, electric bill. You're on fixed income, Howard. Social Security doesn't stretch far enough for this place. Is that what Carl told you? Her pen stopped moving. What do you mean? Did Carl specifically tell you he was paying my bills? He didn't have to. It's obvious. She waved around the kitchen. How else could you afford this? House is worth $385,000. How do you know what it's worth? I'm a real estate agent, Howard. I know property values. She was getting irritated now. Didn't like being questioned. But you never saw the deed to this place. That stopped her cold. Beverly's confident look flickered for just a second. I don't need to see any deed. Carl inherited this house when Dorothy died. That's how inheritance works. She was so sure of herself. So wrong. Did he though? Of course he did. Who else would get it? I stood up slow and walked to the sink. Rinsed my coffee cup real careful. Beverly, you've made lots of assumptions about my money. They're not assumptions. They're facts. Really? What other facts you got? She checked her notes. Carl told me you never put a dime into this house. I turned around. Carl told you that? Yes. Interesting. Because I built this place in 1987. Paid cash for the lot. Hired my union brothers as contractors. Supervised every day myself. Beverly's face got tight. That was 37 years ago. Things change. Some things. Not ownership. We stared at each other across my kitchen. Her real estate composure was starting to crack. You got until November 15th, she said, gathering up her papers. After that, I'm changing the locks. We'll see about that. She headed for the door, but I wasn't done yet. Sometimes you got to let people dig their own graves. Sunday afternoon I did something I hadn't done in months. Went down to the basement. Time to gather some evidence. Dorothy used to joke I was like a squirrel down there. Storing every document like nuts for winter. You never know when you'll need proof. She'd roll her eyes when I kept 40 years of bank statements. But I wasn't normal people. I was a union electrician. We learn early that paper trails protect you when memories fail or people lie. Everything documented, everything filed, everything in order. The filing cabinet stood exactly where I left it. 4 drawers of perfect organization. Each drawer labeled by decade. Each folder by category. I pulled out the bottom drawer first. 1980s, the decade that built everything. Found the folder labeled Real Estate, 447, Oak Street. First document was the original land purchase agreement. March 12, 1987. Howard Barnes, buyer. $43,000 for the lot, paid cash from overtime. Second was the construction contract. Barnes Brothers Building Company. No relation, just coincidence. $78,000 for custom colonial, paid in installments as work progressed. Third was the most important. Original deed, recorded March 15, 1987. Owner, Howard Barnes. No cosigner, no joint ownership, no mortgage. Beverly had no idea. She was 4 years old in 1987. Probably learning to tie shoes while I was learning blueprints. But there was more. Insurance policies, all my name. Property tax receipts back to 1987, all paid by me. Utility connections, all Howard Barnes. Carl's name appeared nowhere in any of these documents. Not on the deed, not on insurance, not on taxes. Nothing. The 1990s drawer told the same story. Property taxes paid annually by Howard Barnes. Insurance premiums paid quarterly by Howard Barnes. Even landscaping receipts. But the real surprise was in back of the bottom drawer. Folder labeled Trust Documents, Private. This would change everything. Inside was a trust agreement dated June 15, 1985. Before Carl was even born. The Howard and Dorothy Barnes Family Trust. Next was a bank statement from First National Bank of Pennsylvania. Current balance as of October 31, 2024, $847,412. Not bad for a union guy. Then a list of trust beneficiaries. Carl's name was there, but not as an inheritor. As a beneficiary during his lifetime. Big difference. The trust was simple. Dorothy and I were original trustees. After Dorothy died, I became sole trustee. Carl got monthly support for needs. Education, housing help, family support. But ownership stayed with the trust. Which meant it stayed with me. Always did, always would. Carl lived comfortable because I made sure he lived comfortable. Electrical apprenticeship I helped fund. Wedding I paid for. Down payment on his truck. All of it flowed from this trust. All of it under my control. Beverly saw Carl's lifestyle and assumed he was independently wealthy. She saw his help toward me and figured it came from his earnings. Never imagined the money flowing from Carl was actually mine flowing back. There was one more document that mattered. Carl's life insurance policy. $150,000, just like Beverly said. But she got the beneficiary wrong. Wasn't Beverly. Was the Howard and Dorothy Barnes Family Trust. Which meant it was me. She'd been planning with money that was never hers. Monday morning I sat in attorney Sarah Parker's office with 3 manila folders on her mahogany desk. Sarah handled my legal stuff for 20 years. She knew exactly what those folders contained. Howard, you sure you want to do this? I'm sure. Once we start, there's no taking it back. Beverly will know everything. Good. About time she learned the truth. Sarah opened the first folder. Original deed to 447, Oak Street. Howard Barnes, sole owner, recorded March 15, 1987. No cosigners, no mortgage. You paid cash for everything. Land and construction. Every penny. Overtime pay and smart investing. She opened the second folder. Property tax records for 37 years. Insurance policies, utility bills, maintenance contracts. All in my name. Third folder had the trust documents. Current balance $847,412 as of last Friday. Carl's status in the trust. Beneficiary during his lifetime. Never a trustee, never an owner. Sarah leaned back. Howard, this is substantial wealth. Beverly had no idea. None. She assumed Carl was supporting me instead of the other way around. What do you want to do? First, process the insurance claim immediately. That money belongs to the trust. Done. That's straightforward. Second, serve Beverly formal notice she's a tenant in my house, not an owner. Also straightforward. How much notice? 30 days. Same timeline she gave me. Sarah smiled. Poetic justice. Third, I want her colleagues present when we have this conversation. Sarah set down her pen. Howard, that sounds like public humiliation. No. Public humiliation is what Beverly did to me. This is public education. The real estate agents aren't necessary for the legal process. But they're necessary for the social process. Beverly spent 2 months telling people I'm broke living off family charity. Those people deserve to know the truth. Beverly deserves to hear truth in front of same people she lied to. Sarah made notes. When you want to do this? Tomorrow. Give Beverly 24 hours to enjoy her assumptions. Where you want to meet? Beverly's real estate office. Where her colleagues can see what respect looks like. Sarah looked up from her calendar. Howard, I've practiced law 30 years. Seen lots of family disputes. This isn't about the money. No. It's about disrespect. Beverly needs to learn you can't treat people badly just because you think they're powerless. If she'd been respectful from the beginning, we'd be having a different conversation. I would have explained everything privately. Helped her transition to independence. But she wasn't respectful. She was cruel. There's a difference between grief and cruelty. Sarah closed the folders. I'll make the calls this afternoon. Thank you. Howard? Yeah. For what it's worth, I think Carl would be proud how you're handling this. I stood up and shook her hand. Carl taught me something important. What's that? Quiet strength beats loud ignorance every time. He was a smart boy. He learned from life. Life taught him respect is earned, not inherited. As I left the law office, I thought about Beverly's timeline. She gave me until November 15th to move out. Tomorrow was November 5th. She was about to learn some deadlines cut both ways. Some assumptions cost more than you can afford. The quiet man was about to speak up. When quiet men finally speak, smart people listen. Beverly was about to find out how smart she really was. Tuesday morning at 10 a.m., Sarah and I walked into Cornerstone Realty on Main Street. Beverly was at her desk showing house photos to a young couple. She looked up when we entered. Confusion turned to alarm real quick. Howard? What are you doing here? We need to talk, I said calm as could be. Privately. The young couple looked between us, sensing trouble brewing. You could cut the tension with a knife. I'm with clients, Beverly said, trying to keep control. Can this wait? No, Sarah said, stepping forward. I'm Sarah Parker, attorney at law. We need to discuss urgent legal matters regarding your late husband's estate. Around the office, conversation slowed down. Other agents pretended to work while clearly listening. This was about to get interesting. What is this about? Beverly's voice had an edge now. She was getting nervous. It's about the house, I said, simple as that. We already discussed the house. No, you discussed the house. I listened. Sarah pulled out the first folder. Time for some truth. Beverly, we need to clarify some misconceptions about property ownership. There are no misconceptions. I inherited Carl's house. Carl didn't own a house, Sarah said, pulling out the deed. 447, Oak Street is owned by Howard Barnes. Purchased March 15, 1987. Beverly snatched that paper and read it fast. Her face went white as a sheet. This has to be wrong. Carl inherited this house when Dorothy died. Dorothy Barnes owned no property, Sarah continued. Everything was purchased by Howard Barnes before their marriage. Gloria, Beverly's colleague, drew closer. Fascinated despite herself. This was better than any soap opera. I don't understand, Beverly said. Her voice was shaking now. Carl paid all the bills, taxes, utilities. No, I said quiet. Carl helped me around the house. I paid all the bills. Sarah pulled out the second folder. Here comes the evidence. Property tax records for 37 years, all paid by Howard Barnes. Insurance policies, utility bills, bank records. All Howard Barnes. The office was completely silent now. Every agent was staring. Beverly was getting the education of her life. The life insurance, Beverly said suddenly. Grasping at straws. Carl's life insurance is mine. Sarah pulled out another paper. The beneficiary is the Howard and Dorothy Barnes Family Trust. No. Yes. That money belongs to Howard. Beverly looked around the office. Every agent staring at her. The woman who'd been so confident, so certain of her inheritance. So dismissive of the old man's protests. Now she knew the truth. Howard, she said, voice small as a mouse. I didn't know. You didn't ask. You could have told me. You could have asked respectfully. Sarah closed the folders. Time for the finale. Beverly, you have 30 days to find alternative housing arrangements. But where will I go? That's not Howard's concern anymore, Sarah said. You're a capable adult with a career. Figure it out. Beverly's broker stepped forward. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. No, I said. Beverly made her assumptions public. Truth should be public too. The young couple Beverly was helping backed toward the door. We'll definitely call to reschedule, the husband said. Wait, Beverly called after them, but they were already gone. First clients lost, wouldn't be the last. Gloria whispered to another agent. If she can't figure out who owns the house she's living in, how can we trust her with our deals? Beverly heard that. Saw her professional reputation crumbling right before her eyes. This isn't over, Beverly said to me. Yeah, it is, I replied. You just don't know it yet. By Thursday morning, the whole story had spread through Pittsburgh's real estate community. Joyce Davis brought me coffee and the latest gossip. Howard, you should have seen Beverly at the grocery store yesterday, Joyce said. Looked like she'd seen a ghost. Shopping in the clearance section, alone. Usually she's got those real estate friends trailing behind like she's some celebrity. Maybe they were busy. Or maybe they're keeping distance. People are talking, and not in a good way for Beverly. Joyce leaned forward. Her broker called her in yesterday afternoon. 3 different clients already asked to be transferred to other agents. The ripple effects were spreading faster than I expected. Real estate built on trust and competence. Beverly showed she had neither. There's more, Joyce continued. You know that young couple she was meeting with when you showed up? Yeah. They posted about it online. Something about dodging a bullet with an agent who doesn't understand property law. They posted about it. With photos of the office and everything. Got hundreds of likes. Social media was a powerful thing these days. Beverly's reputation was toast. Friday afternoon brought Carl's old friend Norman Thompson to my door. "Howard, I owe you an apology." "For what?" "For believing Beverly's version of things. She told everyone Carl was supporting you financially. And you believed her." "I did. And I'm sorry. I should have known better." Norman shifted uncomfortably. "Thing is, Carl always talked about how proud he was of your success. How you'd built this house, managed your investments, taught him about financial responsibility. So why did you believe Beverly?" "Because it fit what I expected to see. Old man, dead wife, grown son helping out. Seemed natural. Assumptions again. Same assumptions that got Beverly in trouble. People see what they want to see." "A lot of Carl's friends made the same assumption," Norman continued. "And now we're all feeling pretty stupid. We're wondering what else Beverly might have misrepresented about Carl." That was interesting. Beverly's credibility was collapsing across multiple circles. Saturday morning, Sarah called with the final update. Beverly's attorney called back. She can't afford market rent for the house. So she's moving out. She's moving out, but there's something else. She's also leaving Cornerstone Realty. Voluntarily. Let's call it mutually agreed upon. So Beverly was losing her house and her job in the same week. Actions have consequences. Sarah, I have to ask. Do I feel bad about any of this? I could forgive Beverly for her assumptions and still maintain boundaries about respect. Forgiveness didn't mean pretending nothing happened. It meant accepting what happened and moving forward with wisdom. Beverly was moving out next weekend. I was moving forward. Sometimes the best lesson you can teach someone is to let them teach themselves. Actions have consequences. Beverly was learning that the hard way. 3 weeks later, I sat in my living room reading the Sunday paper when the doorbell rang. Beverly stood on my porch with a moving box. "Hi, Howard." "Beverly. I found some things that belong to you." Photo albums from when Carl was little, some of Dorothy's recipe cards. I opened the door wider. "Come in." She set the box on the coffee table and looked around the room she'd planned to renovate. "Everything exactly the same." "It looks the same," she said. "Why would it look different?" We sat in quiet for a moment. Strange how peaceful it felt now that the truth was out. "Howard, I owe you more than an apology. I treated you terribly. Made assumptions about your life, your finances, your worth. I was cruel when I should have been grateful. And now? Now I understand something I should have understood from the beginning." "What's that?" "Carl learned his values from someone. His kindness, his generosity, his quiet strength. He learned all that from you." I nodded. "Carl was a good son. He was, and you were a good father. I just couldn't see it because I was too busy making assumptions." "We all make assumptions, Beverly. Question is what we do when we learn we're wrong. I'm trying to learn from this." "Good. I found a job in Columbus. Fresh start, new city. Maybe I can do better there." "I hope you can." She stood to leave, then turned back. "Howard, can I ask you something?" "Of course." If I'd been respectful from the beginning, if I'd asked questions instead of making demands, would things have been different? I thought about that. Probably. I would have helped you transition to independence, given you time to find your feet. We might have found a way to honor Carl's memory together. Instead of fighting over it. Instead of fighting over it. Beverly picked up her purse. I guess respect really isn't negotiable, is it? No, it's not. Thank you for teaching me that. After she left, I opened the box she'd brought. Carl's baby pictures, Dorothy's handwritten recipes, small treasures that had ended up in wrong hands. I thought about the past 3 months. The funeral, the confrontation, the legal resolution, the natural consequences. Beverly had learned an expensive lesson about assumptions and respect, but I'd learned something too. I'd learned that quiet strength doesn't mean silent acceptance of disrespect. I'd learned boundaries aren't walls, they're guidelines for healthy relationships. Most important, I'd learned that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply tell the truth. Let people deal with consequences. Carl would have been proud of that lesson. Dorothy would have approved of the quiet way I'd handled it. And me? I was at peace. The phone rang. Sarah Parker with some final paperwork details. Howard, the insurance money came through. $150,000 deposited into the trust account. Good. What are you planning to do with it? I looked around my kitchen. Same counters Dorothy and I had picked out 37 years ago. Same cabinets I'd installed with my own hands. Maybe it's time for some updates. New appliances, fresh paint. Dorothy always wanted granite countertops. Sounds like a good plan. Sarah, can I ask you something? Sure. In all your years practicing law, what's the most important thing you've learned? She was quiet for a moment. That respect is the foundation of everything. Without it, families fall apart. Businesses fail. Communities crumble. People think respect is automatic. Something you get just for existing. But respect is earned through actions, maintained through consistency. Beverly learned that the hard way. She did. But she's young. Still time to change if she wants to. That evening, I sat on my front porch watching the sunset. Joyce Davis came over with a plate of cookies. How you feeling, Howard? Good. Really good. Heard Beverly moved out yesterday. See any of the moving trucks? Saw them load up around noon. She was gone by evening. Joyce sat down in the other porch chair. You know, I've been thinking about this whole situation. What about it? How easy it was for all of us to believe Beverly's story. Made me realize I don't really know my neighbors as well as I thought. People see what they expect to see, Joyce. Beverly expected to see a broke old man, so that's what she saw. What do you think she sees now? Hopefully, she sees that appearances can be deceiving. That quiet doesn't mean weak. That respect isn't inherited. Think she'll remember the lesson? Hard to say. Some people learn from mistakes. Others just make bigger ones. Joyce bit into a cookie. What about you? Any regrets about how you handled things? I thought about that question. None. Beverly made her choices. I just made sure she faced the consequences. Could have been uglier. Could have gotten lawyers involved from the start, made a big public mess. Could have. But sometimes the best response is just proving someone wrong. Let the truth speak for itself. Exactly. A month later, I got a postcard from Columbus. Beverly had found a job at a smaller real estate firm. Starting over, learning humility, the message was short. Thank you for the lesson. I'm trying to do better. I stuck the postcard on my refrigerator next to Carl's old drawings and Dorothy's grocery lists. Reminders that people can change if they want to. Winter came early that year. I spent most evenings in Carl's old recliner, reading and planning the kitchen renovation. The insurance money would cover new appliances and countertops. Maybe some fresh paint throughout the house. Dorothy would have loved seeing the place updated. Carl would have insisted on helping with the work. But I was content doing it myself. Taking my time, doing it right. The way I'd always done things. If there's one thing I learned from this whole mess, it's that quiet people aren't weak people. We're just selective about when we use our voices. And when we finally speak up, smart people listen. Beverly learned that the hard way. But she learned. Sometimes that's all you can ask for. Sometimes that's enough. Remember, respect isn't negotiable. It's earned through actions, maintained through consistency, and lost through assumptions. Quiet doesn't mean weak. It just means selective. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply tell the truth and let people deal with the consequences of their own choices. Carl would have been proud. Dorothy would have approved. And me? I'm at peace. Do you? I looked around my kitchen. The one Dorothy and I designed together. The one Beverly planned to gut and renovate. Sarah, Beverly made choices. She chose to be cruel instead of kind. Chose assumptions instead of questions. Chose to humiliate me in front of strangers. And now she's facing consequences. Natural consequences. I didn't fire her. Her clients did that by losing confidence in her judgment. This isn't revenge, Sarah. This is accountability. And Victoria is learning that actions have consequences. Lesson she should have learned years ago. Sunday morning, I sat in church thinking about forgiveness and boundaries. They weren't opposite things. They worked together. If you're watching this and you've ever been underestimated because of your age, quiet nature, or humble lifestyle, remember this story. Sometimes the best response to disrespect is proving them wrong, and the most powerful people are those who don't need to prove anything.